Hello, my fellow foam flinging enthusiasts. My name's Andrew, aka Dart Sweep, and welcome back to another fun foam flinging filled episode of the Foam Zone. Appreciate everyone joining us this evening. Apologies, I had to take the last episode a couple weeks ago off. Had some personal issues, of course, I had to deal with, as life does that to you sometimes. But we are back, and I'm super excited. We have a great show this evening. Super excited for our guest. So welcome. If you have not done so already, please give us a thumbs up, a like, hit that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, tell everyone about the World Foam Alliance. We are here to bring all fellow foam flinging enthusiasts together, one place, everywhere, not just at your locals, but all around. Find your local events, find players close to you, find designers, modders, shops, everything. Just your all-in-one hub, foam flinging central for all your foam flinging needs. That is the WFA. So the website, of course, is still under construction. We are getting there slowly but surely. But yeah, so that is the goal. If this is your first time joining us on the Foam Zone is a bi-weekly live streaming show where we invite guests all throughout the hobby, whether they be club admins, HVZ clubs, just players, designers, anyone that loves foam flinging. We invite them on the show and we just talk shop and we have a good time. So if that's something you're interested in, please send us a DM, send us a message, and we'll see what we can do on getting you on here. I do have to apologize. I realize actually some of you have sent messages in the past, and I realized I did receive those messages as of a couple of days. And you guys have been patiently waiting, and thank you for that, and we'll get you on the show. It's fantastic that you guys want to be on there. I think we have the Colorado Boulder HVZ Club that is interested in coming on. We have Captain Shotgun, General Strife. They'll be coming on at some point. So we got a bunch of really good guests, good lineup coming up. So super excited for things that are in storage. So yeah, so again, thank you for joining us this evening. If you haven't have anything exciting that you've heard about, which I'm sure many of you have, go ahead and drop that down in the live chat comment section. Maybe we'll get the super chat going, get your comment featured. But yeah, let's see. Community news. What is it? I think Dart Zone announced a couple blasters finally, so that's super exciting. I think we got the Brute, which is the belt box fed full auto flywheeler blaster. Is looking like pro blaster, so it should be hitting around at least 150 140 fps. So that should be something looking forward to, and as well as the pistol, the Brute, is that what it's called? So basically the Mark 2.2, I guess you want to say. It's but this time instead of a proprietary mags, they're using the Nightingale mags, which is pretty smart. So super excited to see those. I think they mentioned they should be coming out in the fall, hopefully, with the fall lineup. So but yeah, if you guys have heard any community gossip or news or any blasters that you're looking forward to, please let us know. Drop that down in the live comment section. I'm not sure if my live chat is actually working. There it is. That's better. All right. So let's see. Who do we have? We got General Strife. Welcome. We got Wizard Builds. Welcome. General Strife. Welcome. Talon Axe Armory. James, always good to see you. Yeah. So welcome. Sam I am with the Jank Blade. If you guys haven't seen the Jank Blade, go check out Maritime Foam's channel or my channel. We got a little snippet of Sam I am with the Jank Blade. It's pretty cool. So, and I had the pleasure of meeting Sam I am at Survival Fest, which we will be talking with our guest who we have on later on. And speaking of Survival Fest, couple pickups I'm excited to show off that I got from Survival Fest. I feel like I'm not sure if I did this last time. I think I showed the elk last time when I had Goop Michael from Matter Hackers on. I had the elk that the moose graciously gifted me. I hope he gifted me. Otherwise, I owe him some money. But I'll be doing a post and sharing that I shot a lot of content actually today. I got my AEBs finally working, and you know how I love my AEBs, so I'll be releasing some short little clips of the AEB test firing demos, and they seem to be, keep my fingers crossed, working. And hopefully I'll be able to use them this weekend at the Maryland Nerf Herder event. But speaking of the pickups I got from Griffins and More, Eric Ponko, shout out. I got this Vault Tech. It's kind of hard to see. Yep. So we got the fly core. I guess I'm pretty sure it's a fly core internals. But yeah, the Vault Tech, a lot of fun. I used it at DMV Nerfers, and yeah, it's just a fun little pistol, shooting around 115 FPS. Mag goes in on the top, kind of like the Primus that's going to be coming out from the Dart Zone. Mag top loading. But this one I've been having a lot of fun with actually, and it's a free runner. I ran it at Maryland Nerf Herders last time, and it's just a really fun form factor to be running around on the field with. And this again was from Griffins and More, Eric Ponko. Go check out the Etsy. This is a lot of fun. It's all mechanical, and story behind this is I basically begged Chase to build me a Blitz and got impatient and ended up getting this in the meantime. But, of course, a day later, nonetheless, I received the Blitz from Chance in none other than the Flower City Fallout colors. Let's see, it's kind of hard to see. Get the lighting right. There we go. Yeah, so personalized. It's gorgeous. It's fun. Neutron solenoid, Band Blaster wheels, and Roboman wheels and Band Blaster motors. And it's hitting around 160-ish. 160-ish. We'll say 160-ish. 160. It's spicy. But yeah, so that's a lot of fun. And then I was like, I'm not ever going to do N1. And of course, I did N1. I got the chicken jockey. I can tell you it's not very good at all. I'm very ashamed of myself. I can't hit anything. But anyways, those are my new blasters that I recently picked up. So if you got anything fun, go ahead and drop that down in the live section. Oh, we got Alex, AJ is in the house. Your brother and nephew were just hanging out all last weekend actually. So but yeah, so those were the new blasters. If you have any blasters or anything that you just got recently or that you heard about or that you're excited about, please drop them down in the live chat comment. Love to see what we got going on. I'm not quite sure why we got the bleeding on green screen. We'll live. Just a couple housekeeping announcements. We have a couple events coming up. I heard, or first of all, congratulations to Magic Smoke. I believe they posted on podium again, first place, along with Orca. I'm not quite sure who the other team was for CFT. For Armageddon out in California, but I saw the photos, looked like a lot of fun, and again, one day I'm going to make it out there. And then coming up in July, I think the big one is End War is the next big one. So that is the weekend of the 19th, 20th, and 21st, I believe, of July. So, and as some of you may have heard, Foam Pro Tour, the comp was announced that it was not going to be taking place. And then thanks to the, I believe, Hampton Road Nerf Club or the North Carolina group or the group down there, decided to take it over. So there will be FPT this year. However, I do believe it's going to be on Friday, the same day as FoamCon. I'm hoping to compete and do both and, somehow manage that. But I believe Boomstick, Donut Cat, and I will be at End War for sure this year. So I hope to see you there. And then following that, August, we have APOC and BPOC up in New Jersey. In fact, our next episode's guests will be Jed Contra, Gotham, and Zelkos from TNT and the Uno clubs up in the Northeast to talk about APOC and BPOC. So that's who will be on next time. So that should be a good one. And then Rag has announced. So Rag is doing their thing. I think Jangular is still play testing the game type modes. So if you're in that Discord and get a chance to give some feedback, please do. Unfortunately, I'm never able to make it out in October. It's during my busy week, but one day, hopefully, I'll be able to make it out there. So I feel like I'm missing another one. But if you know any other events that are out there, please go ahead and list them. I can also assure you and let you know that we have in the background made moves to secure the venue and dates for next year's Maryland Mayhem. So stay tuned for our formal announcements for that. So, but yeah, that's it. So friendly reminder, World Foam Alliance, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I don't know how many people we have in the chat, but we should have that many thumbs up at least. So let's see. So we are talking about Survival Fest later on in the show, which is a good leadway into introducing our guest for this evening, because this is how I met them. I've been following them on online, Facebook, and Instagram and Etsy. So I've been aware of their work for a while. And I actually had the pleasure of finally meeting them at this year's Survival Fest. And super cool, and a lot of really cool, fun stuff I got to see and try out. And it was actually their first time attending a large scale event like that. So I'm super excited to get a viewpoint, some feedback on their experience of how that went for them. So as a designer, going to their first large scale event is pretty cool and pretty unique experience. So with that being said, I would like to introduce none other than our guest for the evening, Radioactive Designs, aka Trip Miller. Radioactive Designs, how are ya?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I can't complain. It's been busy, as you know. But yes, I can't complain, and I appreciate you coming on. I should tell the audience that I actually asked you to be a guest, I think, about a day and a half ago, in a full panic mode on Discord, and I said,
I think it
"I am
was
so sorry."
8 p.m.
Yep. And in full panic mode, realizing we had a show this week and I had not confirmed their guest. And you graciously, enthusiastically, actually, were interested. So thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So for people that don't know who you are, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
All right. I am Radioactive. Sometimes people do shorten that to radio. I am from South Alabama. Sorry, I get a little anxious, I guess. Not really the word I would use, but that's the best description currently. This is my first live stream that I'm going to be on, so a little bit nervous.
You picked the right one.
I've been in the hobby roughly 8.5 years, we'll call it. And most of my hobby time currently is taken up with blaster and part design, running the shop, doing a little bit of Springer design and optimization consultation for other members of the hobby.
Nice. And I mean, what's your background? What do you do everyday life, would you say?
This is it. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I started I started in the hobby in high school, and from college, this is what I do.
And so let's take it back to the beginning then. How were you introduced to foam flinging? What's your first memory?
My very first memory, my grandmother, so she buys old stuff and then resells it, or at least she used to. And she picked up an old Nerf Maverick. I might have been 8 at the time. And of course, I picked it up. I immediately got attached to it, shot it across the yard. And actually, it wasn't until much later in life I realized it was actually modified.
Oh.
because I got one, another like brand new Maverick later on, and the cylinder didn't come out as far. And I was like, I wonder why that is. And it didn't shoot as hard. I don't have the blaster anymore, but I'm almost certain it had the penny mod and like the flip out mod.
That's funny.
So yeah, it's actually very interesting that my very first blaster, my blaster, was modified just from the get go.
It's very serendipitous. It was meant to be.
Was meant to
So
be.
how did that lead into, evolving kind of to, more?
Well, as I was growing up, we got more and more Nerf blasters. I think I got the Vulcan. I always wanted the Semper Fire as a kid from the N-Strike video game. Um, we would play indoors, have outdoor wars, do like little role play. I was the sniper. Uh, they were the bad guy. The whole deal. Um, and eventually, I kind of grew out of it. Um, I still had the blasters, of course. I never got rid of them, but I got older. I was 15, 16, and I just outgrew it, as older kids are going to do. Um, one day I was browsing through YouTube and I got a recommendation for the Maverick mod, the age old penny Maverick mod. I think it was Drax's video, actually. Um, and I was always a tinkerer as a kid. I would take apart stuff, never could figure out how to put them back together, but I would take them apart. Uh, um, so I followed the mod. Once I was done, I kind of wanted to figure out what else there was. My little brother had a sledge fire, and this was probably 10 months after the Make Test Battle Super Sledge Fire video came out. So I follow that. It hits like 130, 140. Not that I had a chronograph at the time, but that's about what you could expect for that mod. And my first interaction was on the subreddit. I went to the subreddit to ask, hey, is there anything else I can do to this thing to make it better? And the resounding response was, no, it's a gimmick blaster. This is about the most you can do with it. And instead of taking that at its face value, I set out to prove them wrong. And that's kind of where it went through. I feel like that interaction kind of cemented my approach to the hobby,
Mm-hmm.
that nothing is impossible. Um, so it's it was really that, I feel like. And of course now it's hitting 270 FPS. So obviously I did prove him wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds like the spark, the inspiration was trying to prove prove them wrong, essentially,
Yeah,
was the
and it's
motivation.
it's a little spiteful to put it that way, but
Yeah.
basically
Or
because I knew there was more and I wanted to push it.
if you believe you can achieve sometimes, so
Absolutely.
that's cool. And then how did you get involved, in the hobby? Did you start going to events or clubs or anything like that, or just backyard blaster battles or anything like that? Or were you just really
Uh,
kind of just tinkering and figuring things out?
by that point, I was 16 or 17 or so and didn't have a car, so I wasn't going to events. There actually was a local event at that point. I believe it was South Alabama Nerf Club, which right on the 10, right? Um, Unfortunately, I think COVID took that out. So,
As as it did to
uh,
many, for sure.
yeah, that's how a lot of them went. There was the second closest one. It went the same way. It was in the Panhandle. I'm pretty sure of Florida. I'm pretty sure. Now the two closest events to me are actually the Louisiana. Oh, I hope I don't get this wrong. Louisiana Blaster League. I'm pretty sure. is
Hmm.
is the name of it. I could be wrong, and that's like 2.5 hours or so away.
I'm
Um,
sure James could correct us on that one.
yeah, I'm absolutely sure. And the second closest is closer to 4 hours away, and that's actually uh, Florida State University's HVZ club.
Okay. So there's Sunshine Dart League and the HVZ Club. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, both I heard are actually worth the trip. So if you ever get a chance, or if anyone gets a chance,
Yeah,
please go check it out. I know the Florida HVZ Club is pretty good, and they put on a good show, as well as the Sunshine Dart League. We have some friends down there, so if you're ever in the area, definitely go check that out. And then yeah, I believe James was doing the Louisiana Blaster League or club. I forget exactly which they called it. I don't have to yell, but yeah, very cool. So not much chance of actually getting a chance to go out there and use the blasters as much as getting tinkering and figuring things out. So
yeah. Tinkering is always been the main thing for me. At first, it was. Now it's a little bit embarrassing now, but I actually used Play-Doh to fill in the two of the three holes of a sledge fire shell. And then I covered it off with tape. And that was how I singled my first sledge fire. Um, I think I have a Reddit post about it, even. Um, but it was kind of that general style of, it was almost old school, really. Um, Using old pieces of broken screwdriver to fill in parts that needed reinforcement for the sledge fire. I didn't even have epoxy. That's just what I did. I bought a 788 spring. I think it was 788. I could be wrong. C836, maybe. I bought one of those from Home Depot, and that was how I continued the modification. There was an old Tech 6 spring that I used in there as well to keep pushing the envelope. Um, I think I filled in the dead space with hot glue. It was really old school type of modding that I did. Um, Super glue and hot glue for draw extension. Like, there was no 3D printing for me at that point. There was no buying parts from other people. Um, I think the very first part I ever bought from anybody was a uh, it was a handmade metal, like, lever kit, internal hammer kit or lever kit for the sledge fire, because I
Mhm.
had bent mine. Um, so back then, we'll call it 2019, it was pretty old school for me. Um, I don't even think I have any 3D printed parts in my current sledge fire. It's over in a corner somewhere, except for the shell. So it's, don't want to keep repeating myself, but very old school.
Yeah, for sure. S- So tinkering and just learning about blasters. So how did this lead to and evolve into radioactive designs?
Late 2018 or so, I asked my grandparents for Christmas for a 3D printer, and I got one, surprisingly. From there, I 3D printed a couple of sledge fire shells. Of course, all different designers. They weren't 100% compatible with each other. And there were only like the singled shell, a three-shot replacement shell, and I think a mega shell. And that was it. And if you did the modifications for the mega shell, the other shells wouldn't eject. There was all that going on. And I decided I wanted rival shells. So I took a random design off of Thingiverse and got to work figuring out Tinkercad. And to this day, Tinkercad is what I use, which is kind of, people give me flack for it, but it works for me. It's the thing I'm most comfortable with. Um, let's see. From there, it was. I kind of applied the same thing to a whole bunch of other blasters. So not just Rival for the Sludge Fire. I did Boomco. I did Ultra when it came out. I did one, two, and three shot shells. I did shells that kind of splayed the barrels apart a little bit to get a bigger like spread. Um, I did shells that didn't need brass with like long barrels. There, if there's a shell type for the Sludge Fire that can be made, I have made it. I did random rebarreling materials for people in Australia. Um, like that was what I did for the longest time, and then I made a couple of smaller things. I made a mega strong arm cylinder that was based off of somebody else's design that I just got off Thingiverse and modified. Um, and then it was, I think it was late 2019. It was definitely October 2019 is when I started my shop. And at that point, it was just selling the Sludge Fire shells that I had made. Well, the first thing that I made that wasn't a Sludge Fire shell was actually a 6-shot ultra cylinder for the hammer shot. And that was kind of like the next step. That was the first thing I made specifically for my shop.
I think I remember seeing that on the store. Yeah.
And it's, of course, it was kind of finicky. It didn't always print well, which an old Ender 3, back then it was kind of plug and play for me. I didn't have any modifications to the printer.
I was going to ask you which printer you got for as your gift, but the Ender 3, tried and true.
You're gonna learn. And I had it for a couple of years before. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but it was actually a 2018 Black Friday Ender 3, right? Where they had cheaped out on the connectors, and so they would eventually overheat and burn. So it eventually got replaced because the connectors had charred. So and it was actually sitting on a piece of cardboard to like the harmonics or whatever, printed better if it was sitting on cardboard. And there was a little charred spot on the cardboard where the connector was just sitting on it. So I got really lucky I didn't burn down my bedroom.
For sure. But it's an Ender 3 and you had that, so you were doing it right at least. If it's not about to burn something down or you got to re-level it every single print, you're not doing it right. So
Yeah.
So I mean, you make it sound so easy. I got a 3D printer, and then I taught myself CAD, and then I started making shells, and opened up an Etsy shop. Why don't you go a little bit a detail, a little bit, and let people know kind of like maybe kind of the challenges or what you kind of had to go through as far as maybe teaching yourself Tinkercad. Because there are probably people out there that want to design stuff and don't know where to start. I tried Tinkercad and I can do a few shapes here and there, but not enough to eventually take someone else's design and modify it, or make my own shells or anything like that. And then once figuring that out, opening up your shop. But before we go to that, why don't you explain the name Radioactive Designs actually, and then how that, obviously that is the shop.
So it was 2012 or so, right? I was 11 or 12, and I was playing like a mobile drag racing game, right? Eventually, I joined some forum where I needed a username for it, and that year, Radioactive by Imagine Dragons was the most popular song.
I knew it.
I had actually, for a while, bounced back and forth between Radioactive and Demon, because Demons was also another popular song by Imagine Dragons at the time. Eventually, Radioactive did stick, and that's kind of been my handle for, oh gosh, it's been 13 years now. Oh, that makes me feel old.
That's funny. Yeah, no,
Mm.
I had a feeling it might have been related. I just took a guess when I was doing the social posts for the audio I like to put along with it. I was like, I wonder if it's got anything to do with Imagine Dragons. I'm just gonna go
Yep.
with Radioactive and see what happens. Hopefully, he won't get mad. So, but that's cool. That's very cool. So, but yeah, going back to the other questions, what were some of the challenges of maybe teaching yourself CAD and opening up an Etsy shop, back at that time?
Well, I took the same approach that I took to modifying a Nerf blaster. Um, and as I said before, I've always been a bit of a tinkerer. Um, there was an old game, I don't even remember what it was on, but there was an old game that was basically like a 2D Tinkercad. So I had a little bit of experience kind of doing that, building from nothing. It's basically like Legos or Minecraft if you had to go that far, right? You're taking these pre-made blocks, slightly changing them to get the shape that you want, and then either it's a hole or it's a solid, and you just work from there. I I don't know that I ever had any big problems like starting. Of course, going to more complex things, there's more problems and other things pop up. But if there was ever a problem, I printed it, tested it. If there was ever a problem with it, like a hole was too big or too small or too far this way or that way, I went in and changed it. Eventually, you just get the hang of it, right? You kind of understand, okay, this is an elite dart. It wants a 12.9 millimeter hole for the printer that I use, right? Um, so that you kind of get knowledge right now, right? I am working on an 8 shot. I don't know if I can see that, but an 8 shot uh, Desperado cylinder. That is the first iteration, and it just works. Of course, it wasn't like that 6 years ago, but if you just keep working at it, even if the first 10 are failures, eventually you're going to get to the point you're going to iron out every one of those failures and get something that works. And once you have something that works, you can build off of it. You just build your knowledge base. There, I actually didn't do it, but there are YouTube videos that you can watch. Right, there's knowledge for every single thing on the internet somewhere. You just got to find it and actually care enough to go find it.
Just Google
Just
it.
Google it. Yeah, go go on YouTube. There's something there. Somebody will figure it out for you.
That's all right. And then what about opening up the Etsy shop? What motivated you to start doing that?
Um, Again, it was a little bit out of spite. Most of the things I do seem to be out of spite.
Ain't
Um,
mad at you.
People were making their own like sludge fire shells, right? That it had existed for 7 years before I started making stuff, and only 3 or 4 different types had come out. But then people were coming out with rival shells like a year and a half after I made them, and basically profiting off of the idea I had a year and a half ago. Which I don't want to put it like that, but that's the gist, right? So I figured, hey, I can do this. Um, I I can do it. I have a computer. That's really all you needed, and a printer, of course. But like that's pretty much all I needed to start. Um, Luckily, back in the day, my mother actually did like eBay stuff, so it was kind of a similar course, and I had her to kind of help me figure some things out early. Um, she still had some leftover packaging stuff from way back in the day, so I used a lot of that. And I by that point, I kind of made a name for myself modifying just the sludge fire. For several years, I was the sludge fire guy, right? And that's kind of it's kind of gone away. Now I'm better known as like the hammer shot guru or wizard or what have you. Um, but I kind of had a reputation with the sledge fire, and so people saw that I had started, and if they couldn't buy it, if they couldn't make it themselves, they could buy it from me. And of course, those designs are still on Thingiverse. You can go there now and check out all of the designs from 6 years ago. Um, I believe that's under the username Radioactive 52. Whatever. Where was I? What was the
Oh,
question?
we were just talking about creating the Etsy shop, and you
Yes,
you're
the Etsy
basically
shop.
doing it out of spite to have people stop taking your stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if other people were going to profit off of it, why shouldn't I also profit off of it?
For sure. We have a couple questions. AJ, Alex wants to know, you said you would rock a 64 shot inline cylinder for hammer shots. Did you finish that design?
64 is a little much. You might be referring to the dual 32 hammer shots that I said that I was going to run. That was probably 3 or 4 years ago that I said that, right? The very first time that I had actually tried to figure out going to an event. I don't think I have a 32 shot anywhere, but I do have a 40. Hold on.
It's a good compromise.
Yeah, 40. The 40 never made it to production. Back in 2020, I think, when it became a thing. Back then, inlines were kind of in a resurgence, right? They hadn't really made it back. That people were still using the age-old stuff of brass, and I just made it 3D printed. I don't want to say I was the first. Okay, I don't want to say I was the first, but I was definitely one of the first to make a fully 3D printed inline clip. And I will say that I was the first to make a cylinder of inline clips, which is what this is. It's 8 inline clips. So I didn't forget the question. So 32. Yes, I was going to run 2 32 shot hammer shots. That kind of fell away when I made the Radson XL, or when I designed up the Radson XL, and so 2 Radson XLs is what I brought. I did have a hammer shot though. I never did use it, but I did bring one, and I do have it here. This is a stock spring 110 FPS hammer shot. Now, that 110 FPS is a little bit low because it hasn't been maintained in about 2 years, but 110 to 112 is what it chronoed at Survival Fest. When it was brand new, it was chronoing like 120 with worker bamboos.
Yeah, definitely good enough for HVZ. So, General Strife made a comment saying, "How has nobody made a triple N1 shell for the Nerf Trilogy shell strike?"
I have. I'm pretty sure it's on my Thingiverse actually.
Right?
I'm fairly sure. I know I've designed it, and I know I've put a bunch of N1 stuff on my Thingiverse. I don't know for sure that is one of those, but it exists somewhere in my files at the minimum.
Speaking of N1, what do you think of N1? What does everyone think of N1?
I'm one of those weirdos that really enjoyed Ultra, right? Especially because it was a new ammo type. It was a new size. I could make a bunch of new stuff with it. N1, it fits into that as well. It's a new size. I did one of the first kind of deep dives into like all the technical stuff about it. I figured out it was 1.082 grams on average in a fairly consistent, actually. I figured out that it was 14.5 or 14.6 millimeter outer diameter. I figured out the length. I figured out the size of the head, the height of the head, the size of the nub, both length and diameter. Um, I think I have a it might not be. Nah, I'm not going to look for it, but I actually have a cross section of an N1 dart. I cut an N1 dart in two to figure it out, to just figure it out even that much deeper. I actually enjoy N1, like the dart, not necessarily the blasters. But the dart is fun. It opens up a couple of new possibilities. It's another thing to modify for. It's another thing to design for, and I've designed for it. It's N1. It's a 5. This is definitely the first inline N1 blaster. Might actually be the first hobby made N1 blaster. Um, but 5 shots, and if the N1 dart is inaccurate, you might as well kind of work into its strengths. There is a 410 FPS Nerf N1 Caliburn out there somewhere, and I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. And N1 Caliburn is very cool. General Strife was saying, he was talking about a triple one.
Yeah, I have a triple in series trilogy shell. Pretty sure it might be under the same thing. So if you go in there and it's not just a bunch of files that is single, double, triple, maybe even quadruple, I know it's somewhere. If it's not on the Thingiverse, then if you tag me in the Discord and remind me, I will have it put on Thingiverse.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think that actually this Blaster Talk is a good segue kind of going into Survival Fest. But let's talk about the blasters that you actually brought to Survival Fest, because that's what really had my attention. And I had a lot of fun getting a chance to try the stuff you were showcasing. So, and I think we may have some photos and things we can roll through as well while we're talking, if I'm not mistaken. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we just run it. So, but yeah, why don't you talk a bit about kind of first of all, what blasters you brought to Survival Fest to showcase, and kind of what you got on your Etsy right now.
So for the showcase, I brought of course, I've already shown it, the 40 shot hammer shot. Not quite 40 shot anymore. It used the dome tip.
Let's cut back to
6mm darts. The 40 shot hammer shot, I believe it hits roughly 75 FPS, 65 to 75 FPS stock spring. It's not quite a 40 shot anymore. I do need to come back to it. This is from the time where sweet oranges were kind of the go-to dart, right? Everybody had sweet oranges. Maybe it wasn't the go-to, but everybody had them. And so, of course, they're 36 millimeters. And now with the 38 millimeter darts and 5 stacked on top of each other, that's at least 10 millimeters more length that this cylinder does not have. I did bring it to kind of show off. I also brought, I don't know if it was this Desperado exactly, but I did bring a Desperado with a prototype inline clip cylinder. Another one of those cylinders that doesn't quite work, but I brought it anyway. I also brought, I think this is the one. Yes. I also brought this, which is a Fury 4, an X-Shot Fury 4, the smallest multi-shot Automatic Prime Mega Blaster in the hobby currently. Um, I brought this to show off, and I had a couple of cylinders and stuff as well, kind of beside it. I also showed off, of course, this hammer shot. To go into a little bit more detail, because I've shown this already, to go into a little bit more detail about this, it's extended draw with my intermediate upgrade kit that I designed. It has a 15 millimeter spacer, which is a little bit different than some of the other people, like the other spacer designs that exist. Most of them put the spacer on top of the spring so that it's moving, and I put it on the bottom to remove all of the weight. It also has PTFE or Teflon barrels, about 110 millimeters long. It is a half-inch inner diameter, so it's a little bit tighter than other barrels, but the friction helps a lot. It's also got the intermediate upgrade cap in it. It removes the most dead space that you can in the blaster. Current configuration with the stock spring, and this is a little bit worn even, it hits 110, 120, right? Perfect HVZ numbers. If you put an 8 kilogram spring in it, now those are a little bit hard to find nowadays, but if you were to put an 8 kilogram spring in it, it's 140, 150.
Oof.
If you do a 10 kilogram, it'll do 160, 170. And this is kind of the functional version of what my world record hammer shot is, right? Which hits with a 13 kilogram cut down, CETA upgrade spring, 219 FPS, and averages like 210. And I want to improve that some more.
And you said that was with the CETA turf spring upgrade, or
yes, and I got it just before Nerf Turf closed its doors for the final time. Yes, it's up there, and that is still extended draw, but it's still the stock plunger tube. Not even an expanded plunger tube. It's the stock one. I have that same blaster is kind of going through a little bit of a renovation right now. It's in a box behind me somewhere.
No worries.
And it is actually, I'm putting a Reflex 6 plunger tube in it. It's just a little bit bigger, but it's straight wall. And that's the big thing. I can also extend the draw a little bit more. I haven't done big numbers with it yet, but with the stock spring, if I remember correctly, with worker heavy darts, I was hitting 125. With regular worker darts, I was hitting like 130, 135-ish. I think I've done 8 kilogram testing, and that did 160, 170. So it's kind of shaping up to be hitting 230 FPS with a hammer shot. It's again one of those blasters that people said, hey, you can't really functionally make it hit more than 100 FPS. Like, it's possible, but it's like so ridiculous the stuff you got to do to it. Now, this is it's not a drop-in kit. It does require some knowledge and some materials, but I have installation guides for everything on my YouTube channel. So many people have followed it. It worked out for them, and they hit 120 FPS now with a stock spring. I want to say there are 2 other hammer shots that I've made, like the high power hammer shots that I've made that exist in the wild. I gave one away. I don't know if you know Vile Mods, Foam News Collective host. I gave one away in one of his breast cancer research, like fundraiser live streams, charities, whatever. I think that was 2023. and I made for a trade, I actually made one for Tinkershot of Spitfire products. And I think those are the only two that I've made that exist in the wild now. Of course, there are like mega hammer shots that I've made that exist in the wild, but these are kind of they take a lot for me to make to this level. The materials are not cheap. It's like I want to say $100 in materials, maybe 80 on a good day, but it's up there. Um, the question was things I've taken to Survival Fest. All right, we've also got
That was good.
we've also got
There it
the
is.
Radson XL.
Yep.
I knew you were waiting for it.
Yep.
This
This is the
is
fun stuff, guys.
this is actually the one that I used because I actually sold out of this version of the Radson XL. This is the one I brought and used to, we'll say, devastating effect for some zombies. Of course, it is a big old. I think I have one right here. Yep, the big old blue dart. It was shooting them like 63 FPS, which is way lower than the ones that I was selling. But this is like the first one that I've ever made, and it's still kicking. I also brought. We'll go in this order.
And that was Alex's AJ's question actually was what were you rocking for HVZ? So you answered.
I'll answer that a little bit further in a moment, but this is the 3-shot Mega, and this hits about 63, 64 FPS. And these people have asked me before, but these barrels, they're not quickly interchangeable. You can't just pop it off, slap on another one. That's not what it's designed for. That it introduces a couple of problem areas that reduces performance. And this is already low performance. It's one of the most efficient blasters in the hobby, at least 3D printed blasters. And of course, take that with a grain of salt. I'm one of the only people actually doing efficiency calculations right now. So who's going to correct me, right? So yes, triple mega. HVZ, this is the stock configuration. 63 FPS. I've got it up to like 77 with 3 mega darts. So stock mega performance 3 darts, they're inaccurate typically. So it's a good spread. The next one I made was this one, the 6x3 inline shotgun. This is hitting with the first set of 6, 70 FPS. With the second set of 6, 75. And with the final set of 6, about 80 FPS. Now I've gotten that up to like 80, 85, and 90 with a harder to prime spring. Some people were really struggling with this when they came up to my table, but it's not difficult for me anymore, right? You get used to it. Again, this is using inline clip technology, right? It's 6 barrels, inline clips, shotgun. A lot of people do have trouble trying to get a shotgun to work just in general. Adding inline clips onto it makes it even more difficult because the typical problem is 4 darts fire, 2 don't, and then you have problems because now the 4 darts that did fire, the 4 barrels that did fire, are going to perform better, leaving more darts behind. It's kind of a snowball effect. The more barrels you have, the bigger a problem you can have. If one dart shoots just a little bit harder, the rest are going to shoot terribly. Or if one shoots terribly, it might just kind of plop out the barrel, if it even does, and then 5 more go off at slightly higher performance, right? So it's difficult to find that balance. And I feel like I've struck it fairly well, especially even with worn darts. And that was kind of a big accomplishment for what I did here. The next one I designed and brought was Ultra, actually. It's kind of the same thing that that the 6x3 half dart does, but it's 4x2. It hits, I think it's 70 and 80 FPS, right? So good numbers. And then N1 came out, and the I think it was 2 days. I made a barrel for it, and I've already kind of talked about it. 5x2. I think it shoots 75 and 80 FPS, and this is actually one of the better performing barrels, at least efficiency wise. The performance for the potential energy, the kinetic energy of all 5 darts firing all at once is fairly good compared to the potential energy. To give it a number, it's about 64% of the potential energy gets converted to kinetic energy, which is insanely good, right? My hammer shot is, I tell people this, kind of sounds like a joke. It's not. It is 69% efficient. It turns 69% of the potential energy into kinetic. I actually told that to, before Game Face kind of blew up, I told one of their engineers, because I had a line of, like a connection to one of them. I told one of their engineers that, hey, this is almost 70% efficient. And they said, yeah, sure. If it is, I'll send a helicopter to your house right now. You're coming with us. A couple of other things I did bring. I brought a prototype break action Radson XL for silly shells. And the version, I don't know if you actually got to play with that one at all, but that version actually used magnets. This version doesn't. I've already done more iterations on it since we've talked about it. And it actually is pretty good. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's going to prove me wrong now, I'm pretty sure. Oh, there we go. Pretty good seal. And the last thing, at least I remember bringing for exhibition, was this blaster. Now, this is one of those, it's another one of those blasters that I gave away on one of Vile's charity streams, but this is a Demolisher Rocket Radson XL. It hits about 40 FPS, which isn't great, but the problem with the Demolisher Rocket barrel, you see this plunger tube? It used to be the biggest, and then Big Greg, and Greg Hefty happened. It used to be the biggest plunger tube in any production blaster in the hobby. It is 2 by 2.25 inches outer diameter, 2 1/8 inch inner diameter, and with this short draw is the same volume as a Talon Claw, or even more. And getting all of that volume so quickly into a spigot barrel, which is 15 millimeters, it's very difficult to do. That's why you see people kind of going to a smaller standard now at about 30 millimeters, 31 millimeters, and sometimes even smaller for half darts, because it's just a more efficient than the old slug standard. Even though the slug standard is perfectly fine, it performs. This is a little bit more efficient. You get more power for the potential energy that you kind of put into it. And I think that's the last of the exhibition blasters that I brought with me. As for what I used, I had a belt I had 2 dump pouches, and for the majority, I had one filled with Mega XL and the other with half darts. And I used the 6x3. And where did I put it? The This one. You can even see this still has its little indicator on it. Um, yeah, those are what I used the entire time. I used 2 functionally single shot blasters, right? Even though the second one is kind of a 3-shot blaster. And I mostly used the Mega XL one. And of course, with this being my very first Nerf event ever, not just a big event that I've been to, it was my first ever Nerf event, organized Nerf event. Taking such small was a single shot, and I didn't know how to lead my shots very well at the very beginning. So I was learning how to perform as a player as I was going along. Eventually, I think it was mission 3. That was we were in kind of a cluster, the kill box, I think some people were calling it. And as Zekna, as the shielded blue vest boomer zombie was like brought out for everybody to see, I ran out of Mega XL, and he was 5 feet from me at one point. So we're all backing out, and I never wanted to get into that situation again. And the 6x3 that I brought was super slow to reload because you have to do 6 darts before it can fire. You can't fire it with 5. You have to have 6. So you have to muzzle load 6 darts before you can fire. And that was so slow. So I decided to keep that as kind of a backup for mission 4 and bring 2 full dump pouches of Mega XL. And that's what I used for mission 4 and mission 5. I think mission 5, I ended up with 4 Mega XL left. And I even brought socks for mission 5, which I didn't bring for mission 0 through 4. Oh, and those socks were helpful when I needed them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's to answer that question. That's what I used for the entire event: a belt, 2 holsters, a 3-shot pistol, and a single-shot pistol, and 2 dump pouches full of darts. That's what I used, and to pretty good effect, I feel like.
Nice. Well, yes. So I think this is a good opportunity to talk about Survival Fest and it being your first experience and what you thought about that. But before we do that, a friendly reminder, if you're watching, thanks again for joining us here on the Foam Zone, World Foam Alliance YouTube channel. If you have not done so already, please give us a thumbs up, hit that like and subscribe button and all that jazz. But yeah, I had the pleasure of traveling to Athens, Ohio for the first time and getting a chance to experience the legacy, the legend that is of the Athens campus there. And it was a lot of fun. I went up with Boomstick Mods and Donut Cat. Or no, was it just me? No, it was just me and Boomstick. Donut was able to make it. But me and Boom went up and we hung out at an Airbnb. We were there with Containment Crew with Charles and Silver Fox with Ryan and Jesse. Ohio was there, and Hicks from A-Team from Canada and Tang were down there. And also. Rachel and Josh from the Corbett Foundation, charity foundation, were there. So we all shared an Airbnb, had a good time. Oh, Al the Geek and his buddies too. So it was a big group of us all in one Airbnb, and it was a lot of fun. And the con was the first day, along with the Mission Zero, and then the second day continued the HVZ, and then Sunday wrapped it up and was the final mission, and then I think we all headed home after that. So it was a long weekend, but a fun weekend. I got some decent amount of footage and photos. Photos have been posted, so definitely check those out if you haven't got a chance to. But yeah, I always think I think it's tough for people that have never been to any kind of, this is my personal opinion, uh, but I think it's challenging for anyone that has never been to a large scale foam flinging event, let alone a local event, to go to a large scale HVZ and kind of be thrown into the fire and kind of figure things out. So I never kind of recommend it, but sometimes there's just no other way, and sometimes you just got to do it. And there's a first time for everything, and you're
Yeah.
gonna learn at some point. So what was your experience like overall with Survival Fest? Again, we have a really good whatchamacallit, we have a really good relationship with Survival Fest and Mayhem, and we like to sponsor each other. And I always have a great time going there, just because I'm not an organizer, so I get to actually enjoy getting an
Yeah.
opportunity to participate in some capacity if I'm not getting distracted taking photos or videos, which is inevitable. But yeah, it's always a great time, and they have a great mod team. Shout out to Michael Lasik, director Spike, and Kelsey, and all those moderators. They always do a fantastic job, and there's always going to be scheduling issues and hiccups and adjustments that need to be made, but it's really kind of how do you adapt and adjust to that and make it work. And every single year they manage to overcome the challenges. And at the end of the day, same thing. uh, I say for our events, not just for Mayhem, but just our local events, as long as people are having fun, that's all that really matters. And I think everyone had a great time this year. And again, where can you get the opportunity to get together with your fellow foam fling enthusiasts to share the passion for that? Not a lot of opportunities. So that's why going to Mayhem, Rag, Survival Fest, and where all these things are a great opportunity if you get a chance to. It's a really fun time. But what was your experience like? Tell us about it.
I had a really great time. It was definitely worth the 16 or so hours driving up there. Um, and that's about the closest event to me, the closest big event. I think End War is something like 11 hours, but uh, it's a pretty big trek for me to be going to these big events. That's kind of why I haven't been to any before. Um, I wanted to last year, and it didn't quite work out. Luckily, this time, because I don't want to make that drive by myself, right? That's that's not always a good idea. Luckily, this time I was able to get I was able to convince my parents to make the trip up as well. Um, they got to experience, I think it was Athens, of course, but also Lancaster. I believe they went to Columbus and Cincinnati, maybe. Um, I was actually sick the day before. I don't know if it was the car ride up that did it to me, but I was just nauseous all the day before the event. Maybe it was nerves, but I stayed in the hotel while they were out experiencing Ohio. I was so worried that I was going to be sick for the event and not be able to experience. I was there and not be able to experience it. Luckily, about halfway through the day, I kind of started clearing up. I was able to eat, kind of put myself together for the next day, the convention. It was, I want to say it was kind of intimidating to walk in there, right? See everybody, these big names that I had seen throughout the years. Of course, Al the Geek, Captain Xavier was there. Seeing Silver Fox, Detroit Dart Talk. I'm not gonna name everybody because I'll miss somebody. But all the big names, and then to be right next to you and Boomstick, who I've talked to in the past, and I think he's done a couple of reviews for me in the past as well. Just to walk in, it'd be completely empty because it was, I want to say it was like 7:45 when I walked in, and it didn't start until like 10. Everybody was already there, already set up, and I kind of felt like a small fish in a big pond. It was interesting for sure. And of course, I had interacted with a bunch of these people already, just on the internet for years. A lot of these people, I didn't even like. I couldn't put a face to a name. So I went around to. I hope I made it to every single booth, but I went around to every single booth, introduced myself. I think I gave a couple of stickers because that's all the merch that I have is stickers and a shirt, but stickers. Everybody loves stickers. Went around, introduced myself to everybody. All really good interactions. There were a couple of people that I was like, we've kind of, it's kind of been rocky in the past. I hope that isn't gonna like come back here, right? But no, everything was amazing for the convention. Once people started coming in, they'd come up to my booth. They, wow, it's so good to finally meet you. I don't know how I haven't met you at an event before, and it was my first event. And so many people were kind of left a little bit flabbergasted that I'd never been to an event before of any size. So a lot of people were kind of, oh, well, this is your very first at all. You're being thrown into the deep end. You might get comfortable being a zombie. You might be a zombie mission 1, right? So that was kind of my first goal, right? Make it past mission 1. Once I made it to 3, it was make it to final stand. Once I made it to final stand, it was survive, objective survive. But I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself. So we go through the convention. Of course, the main thing is to kind of get your brand out there, meet a bunch of people, meet other creators, make connections. Like I made a connection with you. We talked a bit during the convention. You still haven't bought a Ratson from me.
I know. I got to go on Etsy. It wasn't in red was the main issue, I'll be honest. If it was red, it would have been game over. Which is actually probably good for my wallet for that day.
We'll get you situated. We'll get you situated. Why is that a difficult word? Situated.
That's fair. But yeah, no, in my book, for me at least, if I can make it to lunch, it's a win in my book, and I'm ready to eat some human brains at that point. But yeah, so we met at the con,
yeah. We met at the con. I met Al the Geek at the con. We spoke not just during the convention, but between missions. The rest of, I don't know if I saw him the last day. He might have left by then, but I definitely saw him the second day, and we conversed a little bit. Let's get into Mission 0, right? Because that's I wanted to do Mission 0 because I knew from what everybody had been saying that Mission 0 effectively didn't matter, right? The next day you were going to come back as a human unless you wanted to be a zombie. But it was kind of how I got my feet wet, literally, because it had rained all day the day before and the day of. I went with the group that did the egg, the spoon, the egg and the spoon, whatever. That mini game, right? I did the mini game. Unfortunately, my teammates kind of left me behind. I was the final leg of the 3-man, and there was just too much ground for me to make up. You can only go so fast, right? So we're able to do that. It's about, well, I'll say 15 minutes where it's just us doing the mini game. Nobody else is around. We kind of hear some people. I think it might have been the bowling. I'm not quite sure. Um, the bowling, there was a bunch of stuff going on up there, and then I think they skedaddled, right? So then the zombies found us. Immediately, here come spitters, here come red vests, and I was the last person to make it out. Um, I think, oh, I feel bad. I can't remember his name, but he has another YouTube video. The guy who did the 8.5 hour YouTube video just throughout the entire thing. I was
James
6 inches away. Not him.
Oh,
Not quite. I didn't see him until the next day, I believe. We kind of went our own separate ways the most of the time, until mission 4. But I barely missed a key tag on a red vest to save that last guy, and then barely saved myself when that red vest came after me. After that, it was a lot of walking, uh, just a couple of zombies. There might have been 10 at most. Eventually, you make it to the final stand area, um, where we make it. I made it fairly far. I wasn't able to convert into a zombie fast enough for me to play zombie at the end. So I did fairly good. I survived pretty much all day. I had planned on doing mission point 5. Unfortunately, on the way back, the adrenaline just drained from my body and my legs didn't want to work anymore. So I had some McDonald's. I went home. I went to the hotel and started fresh the next day. Mission 1, I participated in Baby's first HVZ mission, right?
which I'm a huge advocate for first timers, in my
Yes.
opinion.
And having so many friends, I'm part of the Federation of United Nerfers, the fun Discord mod team, which most of that mod team was the original mod team for Survival Fest. And a lot of them, I think maybe even all of them, are still around for Survival Fest. So I had a lot of experience just hearing the things that people had done. Not hearing too much, but hearing some of like the kind of things that they were wanting to do, the mechanics that they were trying to implement. Not a lot, more like the basics that we already knew was going to happen anyway, right? I didn't even know about the Baby's First HVZ until they announced it, and I definitely went with them. There were some things that I did learn, some things that I already knew, but it was a good experience overall for me. I think there was a little bit of a mix-up for our group. I think we were what, B group, and
There's definitely a few mix-ups.
I think group A or C, one of the beginner groups, actually lumped in with us because there were 10 people who did the briefing with Scoutmaster Pastrami, and then we ended up with like 50. So there might have been, there was definitely some communication for the players that kind of went awry there. On the way back, the zombies were kind of let loose on us. I think we had maybe 5, and I was holding the objective, right? So I wasn't trying to get tags. My only objective was to get the bag full of evidence to the safe zone, and that's what I did. I had a pistol in one hand and the bag in the other, and we slowly made it. A lot of them, you could definitely tell, they weren't as. So mission 4, it was a well-oiled machine. Mission 1, it was a 3D printed perpetual motion machine, right? Always moving, um, even if maybe we shouldn't have been moving. Kind of getting spread out a little bit, always firing at zombies that were maybe a little bit too far out of range. But we all made it back. I don't think we had any losses. We all made it back. And I think that James from Talon X Armory then took a bunch of the other newbies out, and they were back within like 5 minutes. The horde was just swarming the area. They all came back. My legs were once again killing me, so I took the time to rest, refuel, and get ready for mission 2. Now, mission 2, if I remember correctly, I think I actually went with you and Boomstick. Not that I had intended to. I had actually joined a group of people with mostly like the flywheelers, a bunch of magazines on them, because I knew what my limitation was, right? I could not beat more than 2 zombies, but they couldn't beat a blue or red vest. That the entire event, that was my specialty. That's what I was doing. So I went with them because I needed somebody that had the Mega XL, and I needed people with high rate of fire to protect me. We made it all the way down to what was it, South Green?
Under the bridge.
Yeah, under the bridge. No, I think that was West Green.
No.
That's the paw print.
Ah, yep.
We made it all the way to the paw print. I once again went with Scoutmaster Pastrami, right? That was also a pretty chill mission. We were kind of getting harassed by a spitter. Those spitters are something else. Every single mission, our group was getting harassed by them. I don't know if I just got unlucky or if there were just that many spitters around.
Probably got unlucky. Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah. I mean, I got fairly lucky as well. We eventually got the cryptid, the chupacabra, or as Scoutmaster says, the chupa thingy. We eventually made it back. We weren't harassed too much by zombies. I think there were some other groups that were kind of drawing with the fire, and our cryptid, he couldn't even turn you. He was a stun only zombie. It was the one where he hugs you for 30 seconds, and then if there's another zombie around, they can tag the person being hugged. We eventually made it back all the way to West Green, what ended up being the final hold position, and we held that spot for, I think it was 25 minutes. It felt like an eternity. Initially, I was actually up at the front line. James from Talon X Armory was already there, and he was kind of coordinating where people needed to be. I walked up to him, "Hey, where am I needed?" And he said, "Front and center, you're going to deploy your only Mega XL? Great. You're going to deploy where the Mega, the blue vest zombies are going to deploy." Not even a minute later, a call comes over the radio that the rear guard, the people watching the stairs, didn't have any Mega XL blasters in the area. So if a blue vest zombie came through, or even a red vest zombie came through, they were going to come straight up those stairs, and we were going to have a problem with Lou Cipher. Luckily, we didn't really have any of those problems. Of course, I went back to kind of prop them up a little bit, and it was kind of boring on the rear guard. I'm not going to lie. I've seen a few videos of the madness that the hold was. It felt way longer than what it actually was. But luckily, that kind of gave me a little bit of time to recharge. We weren't doing much. And of course, we made it through the hold and back to safe zone. Mission 3. I think that might have been one of the most difficult missions, at least for me. I was right in the front. They took us to the West Green where we were to siege the objective, and I was at the front, not the very first person, but up there the entire time, dodging spitters, dodging the turrets, trying to push forward. Eventually, we all rushed and there were maybe 20, 30 of us in a death ball with respawn beacons to either side of us, like 2 or 3 turrets. It was madness. Eventually, we're able to slowly pick them off. Um, this is when I used my shotgun the most. They were stacking up behind the shield zombies to charge us, and I would aim it not quite straight up, but pretty up there to just volley fire them over the shield. And it was, if I wasn't in the middle of it, I would have just sat there and kind of like laughed at it because it was so hilarious just to see just a spread of darts come down, tag a few people in the head because that's what gets hit first. And then, hey, I was behind a shield. Where'd that come from? um, I did have a rather unfortunate tag on a red vest zombie at one point. We kind of laughed about it afterwards, um, but that was kind of when I was getting really good with the Mega XL blaster, the Radson XL Mega XL. I was kind of figuring out what my effective range was, how much I needed to like elevation, angle, what I could expect for accuracy. If I had a tight fitting dart, like how much I needed to kind of figure that out. Also figured out, luckily, that loose fitting darts while running would actually come out of the barrel. So I got to figure that out. I did have an instance, luckily it wasn't when I was in danger, where I shot at a red vest and nothing came out because I did not have a dart in the barrel. Single shot pistol is bad enough, but a 0-shot pistol is going to get you turned. Eventually, we did kind of push forward and got all of the turrets, I believe, in the west screen. And then the objective, there were more turrets kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. It was kind of like an alleyway across from Mission Zero Final Hold. We kind of went in there and there were bushes everywhere. It was really cramped. And there were spitters, there were turrets, there were red vests, and I was at like the spearhead, right? All of a sudden, here comes Zekna. And we did not know who Zekna was at this point, right? But a lot of us see the blue vest shielded boomer, and I didn't even know what I was looking at first. I was like, what the heck is he? He's just slowly walking towards me, and I'm just sitting there. Here comes a spitter ball right at me. It was so close that one of the other humans behind me thought I got hit. I didn't feel that I got hit, but he thought he was so close he thought I was hit. It was one of those where it could have gone either way. If the spitter zombie had called me out and said, "Hey, I hit you," then it was one of those, right? It could have gone to a duel. I think is what they called it, an honor duel. And it was rough. I was out of darts at that point. I was definitely Luke at that point, right? I was done. Eventually, we're able to back out because luckily there weren't very many very many zombies around them, around that boomer. I think Captain Xavier was actually like right there beside him. I don't remember for. The boomer boomed, and everybody scattered like cockroaches. People were running past me, and I turned and booked it. I didn't even. I had no clue what was going on behind me or around me. I didn't know what was coming at us because it was not a anything we had ever even been briefed on, and we got out of there. At that point, we thought we had lost Mission 3. Luckily, there was the lab coats. I can't remember exactly what they're called, and Noble Team. I had actually heard them say at the very beginning, as we're walking to get to West Green, hey, we're going to flank. And then they were gone. And the entire time, this just 45 minutes to an hour, where we are, can you still hear me good? I feel like I'm
You're
lagging
good.
a little bit. Good. Okay. All right. Good. For 45 minutes, I had forgot about them. Everybody had. We all make it back to safe zone, and then a moderator runs up to us. Guys, they got her out. What do you mean they got her out? We lost. We got pushed back. We didn't even see her. No, they flanked, picked the locks, and are taking her to I think it was South Green. You can stay here or you can go and help them push. Well, I think most of us stayed there because they were so far ahead of us at that point, we were never going to catch them. They were going to get turned before we were going to get there, if they were going to get turned at all. The call comes over the radio, mission success. And that was the last mission for the day. I thought, as all this was going on, I think that was the mission that I thought James from Talonak's Armory had gotten turned. I was a little disappointed because I didn't get to run with him. Well, day 3, I got to run with him as a human. He took the entire contingent. I think Briar. I think she was a local. She kind of took up the vanguard, the spearhead, and James was yelling out commands to everybody as everything was going on, and we just moseyed along, zigzagging through the campus, picking up 17 of the 40 spawn relays by ourselves, like with our own group. You'll see in the pictures, and I kind of feel I feel some type of way about it. I forgot my iPro in the safe zone and didn't even realize it until we were like halfway to our destination. I did turn and ask Spike, Mike Lasek. I did turn and ask, hey, look, I forgot my eye protection. Do any of these mods around here happen to have any spares? If not, do I need to go back to safe zone and get my eye protection? He said, no, I think you'll be okay. Just be careful. And so there's a picture of me kind of look at no eye protection. Everybody has eye protection around me. And I kind of feel like I kind of feel bad about it that I've just forgot my iPro. The one thing that's required for a player, and I forgot it. Right. So we walk. I kind of James tells me, hey, those people over there don't have Mega XL. Go over there and help them. Okay, I'll go over there. I'll watch the area. Hey, go over there and help watch that area. And of course, we're all cooperating. We are working as one big unit. At that point in time, we are a hive mind, right? We're crossing roads, like watching each other's backs on every corner. I think James's video part 3 has that where he saves Adam. uh, OFD, I believe. And we make it all the way to the corner, and then we work our way back. We didn't have very many zombies around for the entire way forward. And then one of our scout teams tells us, hey, here comes the horde. They've wiped the other groups. We're in trouble. We need to start moving. So we're able to kind of outmaneuver them a little bit. They tried to block us off. Luckily, we were able to kind of work around them. Zekina shows up before he's able to kind of block our only way out. I am able to hit him with a Mega XL dart around his shield. I pop him, he booms, which scary, but it's not in our only way out. I was pretty hyped about that. I'm not getting probably the biggest tag that you could get, taking out, well, at least popping the boomer. I was pretty excited about that. We are able to make our way back through. I am at the tip of the spear at this point. We make our way through one of the biggest choke points in the on the entire campus that at least I saw. Make it through there, and there are maybe 10 zombies harassing us, a couple of reds, and they see me, and they're not getting close. They're trying to maneuver around where I am, and I'm at the tip of the spear. They are holding off the rear guard at that point in time, and then we were maybe there for 5 minutes, while they were trying to get everybody through the choke point. And then we began to move. We made it past the lake, past over the road, and then things started getting problematic. The horde was right on our tail. One by one, people were peeling off and running to safe zone. At one point, I think there was a red zombie and maybe 4 or 5 other zombies, maybe a spitter as well, that was blocking the humans from getting past. All of those get tagged, and then people just start running for it, right? Zekina booms on the rear guard, and then everybody turns and runs to safe zone. People are running past me left and right. I'm one of the last people out. I turn, run, and I feel like I'm referencing James's video a lot, but it gets some of the really good key points, especially for Mission 4. So I was in that one. You can see me turn as people are turn my head as people are running. And I told him that's when I knew things were about to go sideways. I run out of frame, and maybe 5-10 seconds later, he is the last person there, and he holds the rear as long as he can, and finally gets turned. There are 3 really good pictures of him. I do want to call this out. There are 3 really good pictures of him where there are no other humans around, and he is just sauntering towards the horde. I want to call it the breacher, but I know it's not the breacher. The axe, the battle axe. Battle axe in hand, drops it, just sprays 4 or 5 zombies. He's out, and he gets tagged. I was already in the safe zone by then. I don't think I've run that fast in probably 8 years. But I made it to the safe zone, and I was going to the final stand. So I had I had completed my secondary objective, make it to final stand. Final stand was tough, but it was everything I had expected it to be, right? It is supposed to be overwhelming odds, and that's definitely what it felt like. Um, we got there, and immediately, the second the game started, we were assaulted by waves and waves of zombies, so many shield zombies, a bunch of spitters. And at that point, I had not actually been hit by a spitter yet. Every single mission, I'd come within 6 inches of being stunned by a spitter ball until mission 5. We go through, we keep getting pushed back. There's no way forward for us. We just keep getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. There are 30 humans left, and I don't even know, 150 zombies. I get some more pretty good tags, some pretty good key tags on some blue vests. I don't know if James is still mad at me, but he was one of those that I just kept turning away. Don't worry, James. If you're still watching, it wasn't just you. I wasn't just targeting you. I think all but 2 of the 20 or so Mega Excel that I fired in the final stand connected. And I think every throwable also connected. So I was in my element. This was the peak of what I was capable of as a player, at least with what I had on me. Eventually, we get pushed back, and I finally get hit by a spitter ball. Luckily, immediately, hand on the shoulder, I count to 15, stand up. 3 seconds, I reload. 3 seconds later, we are pushed against the wall, literally pushed against the wall. I see a zombie. I want to say he might have just been wearing all orange, but I'm pretty sure it was a red vest coming straight at me. It was one who I had tagged a couple of times before. He was out for blood. He was 2 inches from tagging me. He was like right here in my face. I quickly turn, fire a shot into his chest. Like a millisecond later, he tags me, and it wasn't his fault. He had just enough like push on me, and we were just so bunched up, there was nowhere for me to go. So that little pushed me back just a little bit, and there was nowhere to like step back and catch myself. So I just kept going. And then eventually I fell over, and we had to call, I think it was the first game pause. He helped me up. I said, "Look, dude, I don't know if I got you or not." He said, "You got me, but I'm going to get you next time." All right. Was maybe a minute and a half after that, we got pushed away from the wall. There were I think it was some construction stuff over there. I don't know what it was, but it was kind of a dangerous situation to be pushed up against the wall. So now there were 20 of us. Things aren't looking good. We're not making any progress. So we kind of curve around, right? We push our backs against another wall, make it around. I am protecting our final NPC, Deanna Strife, which was played by Kelsey, I believe, one of the moderators, with Widowmaker, I believe, is what she calls it. Her Prometheus rifle. And I knew that was probably the most firepower we had left. So I was doing everything in my power to make sure she stayed alive as long as possible. Unfortunately, on the other side, the zombies had a plan to take her out as soon as possible. They didn't care about any of the other tags. They were trying to get her. I don't even know when she went down, but it couldn't have been too terribly long, like before I went down. Eventually, there were a couple of other hard stops for injury and to make sure everything's okay. They pull us out of the little area that we were in. We were kind of in like a little fortified zone. There were bushes and benches keeping everything away. Then during that time, Um, the final hard stop, I believe. Somebody right in front of me had taken a spitter ball to the face, and I was helping them, I was healing them as the hard stop happened. We didn't know what to do because he was being healed and it was a hard stop. Do we continue the heal after the hard stop, or what's the deal? We walk up to the closest moderator, my hand's still on this dude's shoulder. Hey, I was in the middle of healing this guy. We're on like 6 or 7. What happens now? He said, he's healed. You're good. And that was kind of the final hard stop. It was the final time the humans were all together. You see us kind of get broken apart really quickly. I turn away 1 or 2 more blue vests, and then I get pushed off with maybe 4 other people. First person goes down to a rush. The second person goes down to a rush. There are only 2 of us left. The final person goes down, and I'm stuck in this corner by myself, single shot blaster. The fall, I had lost the shotgun. I had just tossed it up against the wall. So I had a throwable in one hand and a single shot pistol in the other, and 3 zombies coming at me. Well, 1 + 1 does not equal 3. And so tagged the first, through the second, and just barely, I tried to evade, but was just barely brushed by the third. I ran back to the wall to drop all my stuff because I wanted to play zombie, and there were no more humans left. It was, now, personally, I don't count the ones that had ran off of the final stand. That's just my personal feelings on the matter. It might have been 13 seconds between me getting tagged and the last person getting tagged. I tell people top 10, pretty good. I might have been like 4th. There is a very very pixelated view of me far in the background, having my own personal final stand with no other humans around. Unfortunately, nothing else. I would have loved to get some video of it. Maybe next time I'll set up. I'll kind of figure something out to record my everything that happened. But yeah, unfortunately, I was never able to play zombie. I don't want to say I was looking forward to it because that is a lot of running, and I had run 20 miles in 2 days, 48 hours, basically, and I'm not built for that. I am not a runner. I'm definitely not a track star. So it's, I thought for sure the physical aspect was going to be my downfall, right? I knew people were going 60 miles over 2.5 days on foot. They were showing some of their numbers. I actually didn't have my own numbers. I was just kind of going based off of what the people around me were getting. So it might even be more than what I claimed, the 18, 19 or so miles that I ran. There was one person who did basically back-to-back marathons, almost 60 miles, and the elevation change they accumulated throughout the entire event was taller than the tallest building in the world. It was basically a kilometer of elevation. So that was kind of crazy. But yeah, I thought the physical aspect was going to be it. I thought at some point I was going to have to run, and I wasn't going to be able to run. I thought eventually I'm going to be too slow. My legs are going to be too sore for me to keep up with even the slow-moving human contingent. Eventually, we're going to get into a situation. I'm going to be out of breath, and things aren't going to go my way. Somehow, and I don't know if it was the groups that I went with, if my limits are just more than what I think they are, or if they kind of conformed to the weakest link almost. But I made it through the main missions without much problem. Um, I had planned on doing every single mission. Um, and maybe fortunately, I kind of knew what my limits were after mission 0, right? I knew at some point if I didn't have to do it, I wasn't going to do it just to protect myself. If I tried to go out there 8 missions in a 5 mission game, eventually I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to hit the edge of the sidewalk wrong and just pop. Uh, I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to be one of the casualties of the event. Luckily, I don't think we had too many big problems. A couple of scraped knees. But overall, it was a very fun event. It was very worthwhile. I still think I'm only going to be able to do one event a year at this point. We'll see what the next 10 or so months bring us. If I had to do, if I only had, if I, I'm sorry, Andrew, but if I picked one event that I had to go to, and I couldn't go to any of the other ones, from the experience I had with Survival Fest, I would have to choose Survival Fest again. That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
I'll be honest, it's not there is no wrong decision at this point when it comes to these events. I think that's the great thing about it, actually, is if you can't make one, there's another one, and they all kind of have their own offerings and different formats. So if you love HVZ, if you love a super well-run HVZ that's got a lot of flavor and great game mechanics, definitely go check out Survival Fest. You will not be sorry. If you want a multi-day weekend event, definitely go check out Maryland Mayhem and War and Rag, and then if you want a good HV or HHHV experience, go to Rag. And then, if you want just pure comp, go check out the APOC and BPOC guys. So a lot of good stuff coming up that's available. So hopefully we'll get you to Maryland Mayhem at one point, and then we'll be able to change your mind or persuade you a little bit. So, but yeah, no, I think you are the perfect example of standing me correct on having new players go to these large scale events and kind of be thrown into the fire. And my concern is, you show up and you do all this prep and then you get thrown in the fire and then you end up turning a zombie immediately, which may not be fun, which does happen occasionally. But probably more often than not, it's probably more like in your experience where, you're learning as you go, and then you end up having a great time overall, whether that be if you get turned early or you make it to final stand. Regardless, like I said, at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun, that's really all that matters. So
I was very worried that I was going to be, I don't want to say left out, but basically left out. I didn't have any group to run with. All of my good friends that were at the event were moderators. So you can't run with them as humans. So I kind of felt like I didn't have a group, right? And I thought that was going to be the problem. I didn't have anybody to run with. I didn't know how people were going to feel about bringing in I'm 300 pounds with a single shot pistol, right? I didn't know how people were going to fit me into their plans they might have already had. But every mission I was able to find any group. Every group I found myself with accepted me with open arms. They oh, hey, you're running Mega XL? Okay, we need you here. You're our Mega XL guy. And it's good to have a niche, right? Unfortunately, I'm not sure how many events have this tiered system. But I feel like if I had to run it again, I would do the exact same thing, right? I wouldn't bring the high capacity hammer shot. Um, I might actually bring two Mega XL blasters even. Um, and I wasn't even running the best version of my blaster. It was just the bog standard, even 63 FPS. All the ones I sold were 68 FPS. So that's 5, 6, 7 more feet of range. And then B car, right? 4 of the 6 Mega XL that I sold, brought even, had a B car on it, which is just a night and day difference. I tested it at home, and it was like I think 4 out of 20 hit a target 40 feet away without the B car, but with the B car, it was like 23 out of 25. So I wasn't even running with the best equipment that I could have, and I did as well as I did.
Hmm.
And I feel like it was mostly due to the cooperation, right? If I didn't have those people to cover my weaknesses, I wouldn't have made it. If I wasn't there to cover their weaknesses against the red and blue vests, they might not have made it, or they may have taken heavy losses. So even with as light as I was running, even with my own limitations, um, it's the cooperation aspect, um, which is really one of my favorite things about the hobby, is just how well we all cooperate.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I think you kind of hit it on, or alluding to it before, but usually I ask people earlier on in the show kind of what attracts you to the hobby, and 9 out of 10 times the answer is the community. And yeah, it's your experience is kind of a testament to the community we have. Whereas you've been in the hobby, but this is your first event. You show up, you have these reservations and concerns, but this community specifically, not 100% of the time, there's always going to be exceptions, but generally speaking, this hobby is very welcoming and enthusiastic to, again, just kind of share this passion for foam flinging, whether it be for HVZ or your local Sunday backyard blaster battle, or just even designers and modders and whatever. Just it's a very unique opportunity when you get to go to these kind of events, and you really never know what to expect until you do it. But when
Yeah.
once you do, I think we all come out feeling the same way, feeling about the community that's that we had the pleasure and opportunity to get a chance to play with, and that's why I do it. And again, as long as I enjoy doing it because I enjoy other people having just as much fun as when I get a chance to do it. So, but I want to thank you for coming on. It's been we planned to go for an hour, and here we are coming up on 2 hours. It's amazing how time flies. Not a bad
Wow.
problem to have. Yeah, no, but this has been fantastic. Again, you have an Etsy shop, you got a YouTube channel. Tell everyone where they can find you.
So the place you can see me hanging around the most, a bunch of various discords, right? I am in Wallcom's Discord. I'm of course a moderator in the Federation of United Nerfers, as well as a TN Armory, which I've kind of adopted as my own. It's not mine, but I'm the currently the only active moderator. It's kind of where I get the most fun out of the hobby. It's the Springer Research and Development. That's where all of that happens. Um, you can find me on Facebook. That's where I post most of my updates. Radioactive's Designs on Facebook, Etsy, YouTube. Of course, Etsy always having updates and stuff. I just released a bunch of merch. Um, there's some big projects coming up in the future. Uh, Hopefully, knock on wood, they are able to come to fruition. Some of them have been in the works for 4 years. Um, YouTube, I don't know. I'm not really a YouTuber, right? It's mostly stuff to act as, hey, here's installation. I'm showing off this new thing I've built. I'm showing off some of these results of my own modifications, right? Outlaw modifications. It's what I've been doing recently. Um, but yeah, Radioactive's designs on YouTube. I keep saying this. I am going to try to like move forward to that a little bit more, increase the production quality of what I've got. Um, it's very, I, I'm going to use it again. It's kind of an old school way of sharing is what I do. It's just me, the camera, and a chronograph shooting over the chronograph, showing you my numbers. It's me top down showing you what I've built here on the desk. Um, Also have an Instagram. Don't really use it very often. If I have something big, I'll definitely put it on Instagram typically. Um, I even have a Twitter. Who has a Nerf Twitter? Uh, and I only ever made it because I think it was overseas was big on the hobby was big on Twitter, and I was getting just a ton of views from Twitter for some reason. So I made my own Twitter account. I don't think there's really anywhere else. And of course, I am always open to talk about anything. I said at the top of the show that I kind of consult a bit. Of course, not I don't get paid for it, but just the amount of knowledge that I've picked up over the years from the Springer modification and stuff. Um, you'd be surprised how many pies I have my greedy little fingers in when it comes to stuff like that, because I'm just able to find those points that some other designers might not even know exist to squeeze the performance out. So if anybody has like questions or anything about about how you might be able to optimize your blasters, of course you can talk to me at any time, either through Etsy or DM me. Even if you don't intend on buying anything, right? Just message me, and I'll help you the best I can. That's just the kind of person that I am.
Awesome. Well, again, really appreciate you joining us this evening, especially on such short notice. Again,
No
everyone, if
problem.
you're not following Radioactive Designs or going to Etsy, please do so. Give a thumbs up, like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. We will be back here next week with Al the Geek and Captain Xavier for another fun episode of Get Off My Lawn. And then I'll be back here in 2 weeks for another episode of Foam Zone with our good friend Zelkos, Jed Contra, and Gotham to talk about APOC and BPOC. So, again, really appreciate everyone joining us this evening. Everyone have fun at your events. Stay cool. And don't forget to dart sweep. Have a
Dart
good one,
sweep.
guys.